And then we move on to our third album, which is Aghori Mhori Mei by the Smashing Pumpkins. And this was Kylie's pick for August. So Kylie, to kick us off here.
Yeah, I'll keep this brief as well. You know, mid '90s, the early 2000s, when I was a young lad, as you guys would say. There was nothing more to me than Smashing Pumpkins. Just between the the loud and quiet. I love quiet verses into loud choruses, and Billy's lyrics back then obviously were just custom made for teenage angst, and I really identified with that, and was lucky enough to see them a few times, back with the original lineup. And you know after Machina, um wasn't really a fan of Zeitgeist, and haven't had a chance to go back to that because it's not streaming. um you know I think that's a rights thing, but also there are so many things that Smashing Pumpkins have quasi released over the last 15 years that you can't listen to. So Billy, figure that out, because I would like to hear more of it. But I chose this record, um, for a few reasons. A, being such a fan in a previous life, um, but also that the album promotion cycle these days, we got to release so many singles and tell you that this album's coming out in 4 months. And I appreciated Smashing Pumpkins just said, in 2 weeks, we're going to put out this record and there's no singles. Here it is. And I think we talked, internally last year quite a bit about Autumn, which was a double record, which was supposedly part of Melancholy, which told this story. And there's all these narratives that Billy Corgan tells us are in these albums that I don't pick up on. um but I had expectations of zero, not to make a pun there either.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, of for this record. And the day it came out, I put it on in the morning, and first listen, I was like, wow, I didn't hate that. And then it really, for a couple solid weeks, I just found myself coming back to this record over and over. And in the end, I think Smashing Pumpkins fans, Jimmy Chamberlain's been back on drums for quite a while now, but I think James was back for Autumn and maybe the one before that. But this is the album I think that Smashing Pumpkins fans wanted to hear after James rejoined the band. And it's very, it's super heavy. It's super psychedelic. There's a lot of moments that sound like, it's off of Gish, their debut record. I think it's, especially in the bass tones, kind of indebted to Tool, who was also, a big teenage favorite that I don't ever find myself reaching for anymore. But yeah, it just blew my mind, and especially the opening Eden, Pentagrams, and Siami, I believe. Like that just continues to really get me very happy with where this is at. But I think for me, I've always been, as much as I love the pummeling, I've always enjoyed the softer side of the Pumpkins. And for me, like Who Goes There and Go at the Fall, those are my favorite songs on this record. They bridged the gap of older Pumpkins. They've been so synth heavy the last decade, and I think they've worked that in there really well. I think the weakest track is the closer, Murnau, but even because I think that leans more back into that autumn sound, but I would take that over any of the songs on Autumn. But yeah, the lyrics, I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, it seems like these days on a personal level, Billy Corgan seems to be in a happy place, raising kids, very healthy, very healthy place to be. And I'm happy for him. So, and you can't keep on writing teenage diaries when you're almost 60. So, I understand that, but yeah, just, I'm so happy that this album came out. I'm so happy that it's 45 minutes long and it goes by really quickly. Yeah, so high praise, expectations of zero, and just blown away.
Were you blown away, Karl?
Yeah, I mean, so like Kiley, I think we'll always have a special place for Smashing Pumpkins. Was very late getting into them by comparison, not so much my teens. You know, when I was growing up, it was only really, you know them as the band from the Homerpalooza episode of The Simpsons. So, you know, those days, not familiar with their music at all. But yeah, in my early 20s, saw them at Glastonbury and hadn't really listened, knew of them, but hadn't listened to their music. Saw them at Glastonbury. Just outstanding performance. And that's where it was like, got back from the festival. I just had this amazing couple of weeks doing a Discog deep dive, discovering Gish, Melancholy, Siamese Dream, all those classic records for the first time. And then Monuments to Elegy came out not too long after that, which obviously isn't on par with those earlier records, but I've got a fondness for it because, you know,
I like that one, all right.
Yeah, it was the first Pumpkins record that I experienced from release. So, and it's got some great tracks on there, like Drum and Fife, Tiberius. But yeah, so I've followed them since that one, which is always a bit of a shame because it's been obviously the worst run of their career, really. Some really, you know, bloated, overly long projects that have their moments, but ultimately just come over like you say, excessive self-indulgence. So yeah, I think we kind of picked this. I think we all thought, you know, maybe a bit of a risky one. You don't know what you're going to get with them. So going in with quite mild expectations, and the first play, similar to you, Kiley, I thought it was okay. Thought it was more concise, more consistent than their other recent output. Nothing too special. And then I went back to it, and back to it, and back to it. And yeah, same as you, Kiley, really. Like, I did my Apple Music replay for August. And granted, some of the other records that we're going to listen to came out very late in the month and probably falling into September, but ended up my most played album in August. And, you know, while it's not going to compete with their classics, I think it's a real return to form. Eden, really epic opener, just an absolute monster of a track. Pentagrams, you mentioned, probably my favourite on the whole thing. Love, you know, the meandering guitar lines, got a classic Billy Corgan chorus going on, that awesome solo towards the end of the song. Like you, Kiley, I like their softer side as well. Pentecost, just gorgeous. Always a sucker for a Pumpkins track that's got strings on it. 1999, really love as well. It kind of starts off quite, typically triumphant and soaring, and then it morphs into this really nasty heavy metal beast towards the end, and it's just fantastic. Sicarus comes shortly after that and continues in that like heavier vein, and yeah, that last track, like you say, it's not really one of the highlights, but I almost felt that was like quite a nice synth-soaked almost epilogue to like the whole project. So yeah, this was a big surprise this month. Easily their best album for a decade or more. Shows that when Corgan and co can cut the fat, keep it focused, they've still got plenty left in the tank. So yeah, big thumbs up from me as well.
Yeah, so I didn't really have much of a background with them. I know their main hits, which used to be played on Krang TV, and yeah, R.I.P. to Krang TV. Whilst we're on that. So yeah, I think is it 1979, which is the one where they're in the wheel and they're going down the hill and stuff. You know, you got that one. You got Tonight, which another End of the Road reference, but Ezra Furman did a great cover of Tonight, End of the Road one year.
Nice.
That was a awesome track. So they're one of these kind of like perplexing gaps for someone like me who loves their rock music and has delved back into a lot of it. But so yeah, I was quite excited to kind of like finally listen to a full album of theirs. Haven't listened to their classics, obviously, like at some point need to. And I think the first thing to note is the heaviness. Like, wasn't expecting that. Gratefully received. Probably the heaviest album since we had 72 Seasons from Metallica last year. So that's probably the biggest comparison I would say with any we've done on the pod. This is better though. Yeah, my notes are very scant. This actually was done whilst I was doing some work. So I unlike the others, I didn't ultimately be able to really delve into the lyrics. Although they did seem rather dramatic. and yeah, kind of almost apocalyptic maybe in areas. But you guys would be able to tell me if I'm wrong on that front or not. Yeah, I mean, Who Goes There, that was the standout for me. So Carly, you were saying Who Goes There and Go With the Fool, like yeah, if I have to pick one, it's definitely that one. I quite like the 80s vibes. I put here, you know, slightly cheesy but good. Like I think when it goes to that extra register, like it's either one of those things which makes you cringe or makes you go, nah, that's good. It was the latter for me. And yeah, I put here as well, like, and this is the most notes I've had any song here is, but it's like a release after the pent up nature of the songs which came before, which are all quite like, you know, guttural guitars and quite like hold you very tightly within their grip. And then you have Who Goes There, and it's just this really great release, I think. So yeah, definitely a highlight. I mean, Go With the Fool I thought was very good as well. Sicarus, Murnau, great start as well with Eden and Pentagrams, which almost has this like Nothing Else Matters style guitar at the beginning before it then comes in with the kind of jagged guitar again. And then some sci-fi elements with some of the synths like you have in Pentecost. It's, you know, there's a lot going on. I like the kind of imagination going on here as well. And yeah, I think it's like, for me, it's a good start for 10 for a band who I yeah, really should know more about by now. And yeah, this late in their career, you know, it's a nice entry point based on what you guys have said in their recent output. So yeah, I just think in a very, very strong month, just another very solid record. And one actually I'd like to give a little bit more time to be fair, just because the others I was able to really scratch into the lyrics as well. But yeah, there's not going to be much criticism, I think, on tonight on the pod. So yeah, it's just a case of where they all fit, I suppose.